Today, I'm going to be interviewing my boy Figures, who's gone platinum 17 times with artists like Lil Baby, Migos, NBA Youngboy, Roddy Ricch, and many more. In this video, he's going to give you guys a bunch of gems on how you can land your first major placement and talk about what it's really like being in the industry. So let's not waste any time and dive right in. First thing I wanted to ask you is, how did you actually get started making music?
I started piano lessons at around 3 or 4 years old, right? Like, I'm Asian, so like we're kind of obligated to play an instrument. So I did like classical training for 18 years of my life. After that, I kind of got tired and bored of just following a book. So I kind of stopped the classical route and I went into playing for fun. And what I started doing was going on the Billboard Top 10 or just listening to songs on the radio and then just kind of sitting down and figuring out how to play that just by ear and not having to kind of read off of a sheet. I remember thinking to myself, like, what if I made my own beats? And then I just fell in love with beat making, and by the grace of God, we're here.
Did you have a job before you went full-time with music?
Before I went full-time with music, I was doing school, going to become a pharmacist, because all my cousins are doctors, right? So like I was kind of expected to go that route as well. When I had caught my first few placements and took a leap of faith, and I was like, yo, let's just try this out. School is always gonna be there. I could always go back. God is great. I never looked back.
Once you started actually making your own music, did you always know that you were gonna make it big with music, or is that just something that kind of happened?
The funny thing is, I remember like during school, like my mom is like a math major. She would always kind of sit there and coach me and teach me the math shit, right, for school. And I would get frustrated as hell. I would just kick and scream and I would just say, yo, watch, one day I'm gonna do this music shit. Fuck this math shit. For me, at least, music was such a big part of my life that I knew that no matter if this was like my thing or not, I would have done something with music because it was just something that I loved.
How long did it take you from like when you started to actually produce your own music? How long did it take you to get your first major placement?
I think it was around 4 years. I think it was in 2017. We had posted a beat like on my story and we just tagged Money Man randomly. He answered and he's like, yo, send that. And so we had sent him a pack, and then that's how I got my first 2 places with him.
I see you even now still like tagging artists whenever you got a beat or something. Do you think that that's like an underrated strategy to get artists' attention to work with them?
Sometimes people respond, sometimes not. I've had big people respond and say send it. I've had people just completely ignore it. That can be a strategy, but I don't think that you should just bank on it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna post and tag Drake, 9 times out of 10 he's not gonna answer you.
Like if I posted something on my story at Moneyman or whatever, Moneyman might not get back to me, but you're following me and you work with him, you might be like, yo, send me that loop, that's hard. Even when I post one of those stupid videos with like my face in the screen recording whatever, like the reels of me that's just like listening to a loop, I get like all the time, like a big artist manager or like a big producer or whatever be like, yo, send that shit. Yeah, I think people just don't put their stuff out there and then wonder why nothing's going.
Yeah, I mean, corny as it sounds, you miss all the shots you don't take.
So you talked about it a little bit earlier, but I feel like the first thing I knew about you whenever I found you on Instagram years ago was just that you were crazy on the keys. How important do you think playing the keys is? Well, I guess to you as a producer and just in general, like for producers to learn even how to play a little bit on the keys.
I feel like you don't need to know the keys at my level. So as long as you know the basics, the chords, how to do melody runs and stuff like that, you can sit there and just practice every day and then your ear will just develop. So I think it is important, but not to the extent where you need to go through 18 years of classical training.
If you got all your skills taken away from you with playing the keys, like what would your method be, like the easiest way to kind of get started?
Sit down, pick a song that you love and just go on the keys and try to figure out the key, right? Go play random notes until you find the note that kind of fits and kind of sounds in key, and then just go from there. But honestly, also before you even do that, I forgot to mention that you should just Google chords. You feel me? C minor, D minor, E minor, F minor. Especially if we're talking about hip hop, a lot of shit is in minor. There's only a few certain minor chords that are commonly used in hip hop. I would sit down and just kind of play the songs that you like and kind of figure shit out on your own, and that kind of forces your ear to train.
Real quick, before we get back into this video, If you struggle with making cool progressions and midis for your melodies, I got something to help you out. I just put out a bundle of my best MIDI kits that I've ever released over the years for only $17. So that's over 450 MIDIs, chord progressions, top lines for soul, R&B, trap, all that kind of stuff for only $17. It'll definitely help you get a bunch of inspiration right away and get some solid progressions to start out your melodies. So click the first link in the description down below if you want to get that. Again, it's only $17. But anyways, let's get back into the video. What are some big mistakes that you see a lot of up and coming producers making?
I feel like a common mistake would be spamming people. A lot of people, including, you know, yourself, myself, all the people that do melodies, they send out weeklies, monthlies, whatever, right? I feel like on top of that, we should also curate specific packs to specific people, not just let me send you some loops and then it's just like a monthly folder that everyone gets.
Like if you were like, yo, I need beats for Drake and I send you my 2024 Dropbox of beats, it's like, bro, I don't need the fucking, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Weeklies and stuff like that, there's no hate in that. I'm just saying that, like, I've had a lot of people just spam me Dropbox links after link, and it's like there's no relationship being kind of curated. Specifically ask people like, hey, what are you working on? Curate some packs to specific producers, engineers, ANRs, whoever, you feel me? That just needs stuff to place.
What do you think the best way to get your beats placed with a major artist would be nowadays? Like if you have no connections right now, like what would you be looking for, like specifically for beats, not as much loops, but like sending your beats out?
Collabing is a big part. For example, if you bring something to the table like melodies, right? Because, you know, I make melodies, you make melodies. Let's say we don't have connections to anybody. We could collab with certain people that need melodies and get it placed that way. Or if you're talking about specifically for beats, honestly, I've had a lot of good placements come from like engineers, bro, because you got to understand they're right there in the room. And if you got to break the engineer 5%, 10%, who cares? You feel me? Like I'll do that all day.
Normally I'll hit them up and be like, yo, by the way, like anything that we get, like I'm cool with splitting it and giving you credit, like you just co-produce, like even with everyone else who was a co-producer, like
right. No, 100%. A&Rs too, right? Like you have to understand that's their job. You go to an A&R, that's a good A&R, you say, hey, I have beats for your artist. They're not gonna say no. They're gonna be like, yeah, give me all that. Send your beats to A&R, send your beats to engineers, send your beats to managers. Same deal, right?
Oh yeah. And how would you go about finding A&Rs in general?
Social media, bro. To me, social media is such a big tool to network with. I guess it's easier said than done, don't get me wrong, but if you have no connections whatsoever, you just kind of have to go through on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, whoever's followed by, let's say, the label. That was a big thing that I did too. Some A&Rs I had success with and some A&Rs I don't.
One thing I've been kind of realizing as you get more connections, I feel like it's super important to just have like a lot of diversity in your catalog of beats. I might make a crazy like house beat today that I have no use for, but then in 3 months Drake's doing another house album and I'm like, yo, I fucking got this one thing I did, whatever. So yeah, that's just another little thing.
Be open-minded and like be versatile, you know?
If you could only do one thing as a music producer, you could only focus on melodies, you could only focus on beats, which one would be the highest return on investment, I guess, for your time in your experience?
Melody for me, yeah. And this is controversial, right? But like I feel like a beat is driven with its melody. I feel like if I had to choose one, it would be melody, because let's say you start listening to a new album. To me, the first like 10 seconds of that intro melody either gets me hooked or it gets me bored. Number one, more opportunities with melodies, and to me, I feel like it's just more important than the drums.
Kind of on that like controversial topic, do you think that loop makers and drummers both deserve 50%?
100%. I think 50-50 across the board, if we could, in all scenarios, is fine. Now, there are a lot of scenarios where that can't be done, right? And I've been in a lot of scenarios where I was on the melody side and there were, you know, 2 people that did the drums and 1 person that placed the beat, and then that person had to give percentage to the, you know, the engineer or something like that, right? So ultimately we got like, I don't know, 5-6 people. I never make things hard. Like if it's reasonable, if it's not no like 1-2%, yeah, I'll take it.
How important do you think it is to actually travel and go out in person to make connections?
Yeah, I think it's super important, bro. I think that emailing, texting is cool, Don't get me wrong, like that could get the job done. But if you're in the room, you're vibing, you're amping everyone up around you. I feel like that drives the artist to like the record that much more. I've been in rooms where the beat is not that great. I'll play it, XYZ hops on it, makes the record, and I'm like hyping everyone up. I'm like, bro, this is the hardest shit ever. You know, everyone around us is also hyping this shit up. And then the artist ends up liking it, you feel me? Because of the energy in that room. He's like, yo, this is a hit. And even, you know, if you're not in the rooms with artists, like even in the rooms with other producers to collab or other ANRs to just kind of put a face behind the music, it's just that step that you got to take to further that relationship.
How would you get started traveling? What would your strategy be to like make sure you're actually, you buy your ticket to LA or whatever, and you're actually gonna like be meeting people?
Network, bro. New social media, set shit up for yourself. Look, you have to ensure that you're bringing something to the table. You could do that by kind of, I guess, marketing yourself, where it's like, yo, you see a producer that's from New York and he's got XYZ placements that kind of fit your melodies or whatever, right? You say, hey, I might be from Toronto, but I could fly out to New York. Let's fucking work, right? I'll be in New York, XYZ dates. Let's get some shit in before I head out. Do that with one person, you do that with the second person, you do that with the third person. Next thing you know, you have a week just filled with sessions. I try to make connections in every major city for music so that when no matter where I'm at, I could pull up to a spot and just work.
So if you had to start from zero today, you have all your skills and all that, you know everything that you know, but like your Instagram got hacked, you had to change your producer name, you got no connections at all. What would your game plan be to get your first placement?
I genuinely would do the same shit that I'm doing every day. Every single day, try to network with new people. Every day I go on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, and if there's a new A&R that just signed, I'm like, yo, let's work. If I see somebody just landed in LA and they're in sessions with whoever, hey, sessions open, let me pop in, what's up, right? Like I'm always trying to network, trying to put shit together. And so if I had to, you know, quote unquote start over, I'd just do the same shit. Structure your Instagram or social media page correctly, bro. So if you're DMing me about music and I click on your profile and you're like going crazy with melodies or going crazy with loops or, you know, doing videos of you playing guitar, keys, whatever, yo, I'll be like, yo, this guy's dope, let's work.
What placement do you have has like the craziest story of how it happened?
I would say Youngboy Graffiti. Youngboy Graffiti came about through a loop hack that my boy Shawty P and I did. It was one of the bigger records. Like I think it sold like 1 million copies, got like over 100 million streams on YouTube.
Someone who's like an industry producer, what does your daily routine look like?
Wake up and just make beats, bro. My life is kind of boring, bro. I'm not gonna lie. There will be stretches in my life where like I'm constantly traveling, but even then, like, you know, a lot of people might think like it's like glamorous or glorious or whatever you might want to call it, but it's like, yo, really, if I'm in LA, I'm in the studio until 6 a.m. and then I'm going back to the B&B and I'm sleeping until, you know, whenever my next session is, and then I just go to the studio and then go home. That's my schedule right there. You know,
this would be the last question. What do you think the worst part and the best part of being an industry producer is?
I like to have my foot in both, bro. Like I love going on live and cooking out with people and just talking to everyone, right? Like, but obviously my main focus is not like selling kits or something, right? But I feel like if you want to call it being an industry producer, you get a chance to be a part of like big or great records, and you just build like good relationships doing that. Like, cause I know like on the internet side, it's just more of like about the hustle, right? It's like, yo, you're hustling beat leases or you're hustling kits. But I feel like the upside of the industry stuff is just you build, I feel like, more genuine relationships with like artists, managers, engineers that could eventually get you even more placements. The downside on the industry side, if you are like deep in the industry, like you're always in sessions, you're always traveling, you're always going back home at like 6 a.m., it gets exhausting. What I would recommend to anyone that's, you know, doing that is just, yo, you gotta have friends, bro. And you gotta have time to yourself. It's not like a job or a chore that we have to do. It's just, yo, that's our passion.
Thank you for making it to the end of this one. Let me know in the comments down below what kind of videos you guys want to see next. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.